All right, what is up, Utes fans? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest, and very exciting news today. The Utes have signed Alvis James Whitted as the wide receivers coach for the Utah Utes. This guy has a great track record of exactly what we need. You guys remember in previous videos, I talked about how excited I was to see who the new wide receivers coach is because we needed a guy that could come in here, be a great developer of talent, right? We're getting to a point where we're getting a lot of good recruits coming in, but where we were lacking with the previous wide receiver coach is the ability to really develop and cultivate that talent. This guy, Alvis James Whitted, you want to say Whitehead, but Whitted, I think that's how you say Whitted, is the guy to do that from what I'm seeing. He has a great track record, a lot of names you guys are going to recognize, and we should be, it should be a pretty exciting time to kind of go over his track record, break down what he's done, and kind of compare it to what Utah's done in that same time frame. So I'm excited to take a look. And before we dive in, guys, make sure you like the video. Also, comment down below. What do you guys think? Is he the right guy? Is he the guy to come in and develop this Utah wide receiver core? Is he the guy? And the number one thing, subscribe, guys. If you guys want Utah Utes football content all off season, there's no better place than this. So make sure you guys subscribe. We don't talk baseball. We don't talk basketball. We talk Utah Utes football. So I look forward to going over all that with you guys. And let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so in 2012 is when Alvis Whitted first got his real major college football head coach, or not head coaching, but coaching position, which was with Colorado State. And what I think will be a cool exercise is let's take a look at how many wide receivers that Utah has had drafted since he got that first position. And then we'll take a look at how many wide receivers Whitted has been able to develop and get into the NFL since then. So it should be a fun exercise. So for Utah, we got to go back quite a bit to when we had a wide receiver get drafted, and that was 2015. Kalen Clay, wide receiver to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, since Whitted became the wide receivers coach in 2012 to now, that is the only wide receiver that Utah has had get drafted. I mean, I was even a little surprised to take a look at that. Only one wide receiver has gotten drafted for Utah in 10 plus years. The one before him was David Reed. That was 2010. So we've had one wide receiver get drafted in 13 years. We've had some good UDFAs like a Britton Covey, but let's be real, right? That is not okay. One wide receiver in 13 years. We're a Power 5 program. You guys get what I'm saying? It's not okay. And Alvis Whitted should be able to change that. I'm excited. Let's go ahead and take a look at what he's done in that same time frame and the type of talent that he was able to produce and get to the NFL in that same time frame. So from 2012 to now. All right, now we're going to be looking at what Alvis was able to do in his time as a wide receivers coach when it comes to getting players to the NFL. He was the wide receivers coach for the Packers for a year, so he has NFL experience as a wide receivers coach. But I strictly want to focus on his ability to develop college players, and that's going to start at Colorado State. He was at Colorado State from 2012 to 2018, so a long time and a long sample size of players that we can take a look at and see what he was able to accomplish. So in a 6-year period here. Boom. So take a look here. So first guy is going to be Olabisi Johnson. He was drafted in the 7th round to the Vikings. Olabisi Johnson, what did get drafted, the year after Alvis left. But either way, you can contribute a lot of the development of Olabisi Johnson as a player to Alvis. The majority of Olabisi's time was while Alvis was there. So still got to give him a lot of contributions, basically all of it. I mean, like the 2019 draft is right after that, right? So you got to contribute that to Alvis. So there we go. And take a look here, guys. This is a low rated 3-star. A 0.80 is barely a 3-star. No offense to Olabisi, but that's barely a 3-star. And Alvis was able to develop this guy to be good enough to get drafted to the NFL. This next one's really right up there with just as good as any. Everyone probably knows this guy's name, Michael Gallup, a straight stud dude, one like a real good NFL receiver for a while there and really a good player. Another guy, check this out, guys, a 0.84. He's taking 3 star after 3 star. We have whole recruiting classes of wide receivers like last year where almost every wide receiver we brought in is a higher star rating than this. Imagine what Alvis is going to be able to do in developing these guys. And then another guy in his time with Colorado State and Rashard Higgins, a 0.80 3 star recruit. That's a low end 3 star, 5th round pick. So he's got a 3rd round pick, 5th round pick, and a 7th round pick in a 3 year span, or I guess total 4 years then, with Colorado State. This is a very good wide receiver coach and a guy that we should be excited about. So let's go ahead and dive in and take a look at each player and what he was able to get a bunch of low rated 3 stars to perform and the level they were able to perform at while he was at Colorado State. All right, and Olabisi Johnson is the first one we're going to take a look at. And I think this is really exciting. Again, a guy that wasn't a very highly rated player, 0.80, which is barely a 3 star. So we take a look at his career numbers, and this guy was, the entire time he was there, so was Alvis. So he was fully developed by Alvis. And we take a look here. He comes in 2015, not much. 2016, 613 yards. 2017, 595 yards, 796 in 2018. And don't forget, this was when a good amount of these years he's split in time with Michael Gallup and with Rashard Higgins. So it's not like he's just out there getting random 600-yard years. I mean, he's like doing this while splitting time with those guys. And look at that average yards per catch, right? Like average per catch is 14.5, 14.7, and 21.9. So this, he was able to turn Olabisi Johnson into a good player. Olabisi Johnson, it's not the greatest player he's coached so far, but a very good player that was able to get drafted. So that's Olabisi Johnson, a 0.80 3 star that he was able to get drafted in the 7th round. All right, and this next guy is going to be Michael Gallup, wide receiver for the Cowboys. I think he's still on the Cowboys. Not sure about that. But you guys probably know him. Very good player. And he was again another guy fully coached by Alvis. So we take a look here. 76 receptions in 2016 for 1,272 yards. In 2017, 100 receptions for 1,413 yards. Now, guys, if he is able to get Devon Vele even in the ballpark of those numbers, it is going to be a big deal. And imagine how he's going to develop these younger receivers as they grow and develop into guys that can really become playmakers. Seriously, when you guys look at these numbers and all these wide receivers that are getting drafted while he's at Colorado State and the numbers they're putting up, I really hope you guys are getting as excited as me. This is really exciting. And before we move on to Rashard Higgins, if you guys could please like the video. Also, comment down below. What are you guys thinking about Alvis so far? Are you guys getting pumped? You think he's going to be the guy to develop this receiving room? And if you haven't already, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We'll be putting out content all off season. And let's go ahead and talk about Rashard Higgins. All right. And the last wide receiver to talk about that got drafted while he was at Colorado State is Rashard Higgins. Now, this guy, playmaker. And what I want you guys to check out as we look at their numbers is a lot of these years they're together, right? Especially Olabisi Johnson and Rashard Higgins. So we take a look at this, right? 2013, he comes in, again, fully developed by Alvis, 837 yards. And 2014, he goes off for 96 catches at 18.2 yards per catch, 1,750 yards, 17 touchdowns. I mean, that would light Utah on fire, right, guys? That would make people go nuts. That would be just by far one of the best seasons any wide receivers ever had at Utah, right? It's right up there with anyone. And then in 2015, not quite as spectacular as 2014 for Rashard, but 1,062 yards for 8 touchdowns. We haven't had a wide receiver break 1,000 yards in a while, guys. I would love to see 1,000 yard receiver. I mean, it looks unimpressive compared to his 2014 year, but it's still an amazing year. Just I hope you guys are starting to get an idea of the type of development he is bringing in here, guys. These are low rated 3 stars that he is turning into studs on the field. As good as the previous coach was, I'm not going to say his name and talk about him, but as good as he was not a great developer of talent, right? I'm not saying there was no good receivers during his time, but I really feel like Alvis has proven it, dude, that he can do it. I mean, you're not exactly getting studs at Colorado State, and he turned them into really good players. And the next thing we're going to look at is going to be his time at Wisconsin. So let's go ahead and dive in and take a look there. All right, guys. And like I like to keep it pretty analytical with you guys. So, he spends 2019 with Green Bay and then comes back to college football to go coach for the Wisconsin Badgers. Now, this is not the highlight of his coaching career, let's be honest. So he comes in 2020. They're pretty drive talent, and his best receiver goes for 255 yards. So pretty rough there. Definitely not a good year for him. And then 2021, he's able to get that, a good amount better. And, we have multiple receivers. Two receivers go over 400 yards, one for 416, one for 478. And then he has one receiver go for 272. So overall, you can see the talent start to develop. Then this last year in 2022, he gets one receiver for 444, and then Shamir Dikey, however you say that, for 689 yards. So again, not the greatest time. So I would say this guy has a very good history, but the most recent sample size is not great, right? You'd want more, especially he had 3 years there. It did get better every year he was there, to be fair, but you'd like more. You definitely hope we're getting more of what he was doing at Colorado State than what he was doing at Wisconsin. But I also, quick disclaimer, Wisconsin was kind of a nightmare, like just everything falling apart. It felt like with Wisconsin, they feel like they always had a shot to do something, but then everything would just fall apart. So that's his time with Wisconsin. So, I think it's pretty clear to say that in Alvis's history, there's some real bright spots, right? Where he looks like one of the best wide receiver coaches in the country at Colorado State, right? But then we also have the Wisconsin time period where he looks, not very good. I got to be real about that. It was not a great showing what he did at Wisconsin. But overall, I got to be honest, I'm really excited about this guy. I think we are getting a guy that knows how to develop talent at a high level, has coached NFL level wide receivers, and is really proven that he can develop talent, especially make talent do a lot more than what they're expected to do. And I think that's a huge thing for Utah, guys. I know I'm really excited to bring him in, and I think he's going to do a really good job. I'm really excited to see how these wide receivers do next year and in the coming years as this guy grows in his role as a Utah wide receivers coach. If you guys have appreciated the video, please make sure you guys give it a like and comment down below. Seriously, let me know what you guys think about Coach Alvis and subscribe to the channel. Outside of that, I am out of here. I hope you guys appreciate the content, and go Utes.